The fluorescent lights of Cedar Hills Academy's auditorium were too bright, too polished, reflecting off brass fixtures and marble floors that cost more than my first house. I stood at the entrance, smoothing down my navy blazer, the one I'd bought at Macy's last month, the one I thought looked decent enough. The usher, a young woman with a tablet and a practiced smile, glanced at me and then at her screen. "Good evening, sir. Are you here for the Academic Excellence Awards?" "Yes. My granddaughter, Emma Richardson, is receiving an honor." Her fingers moved across the tablet. "And your name?" "Robert Mitchell." She scrolled, her smile tightening slightly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell, but family seating is reserved for parents and primary guardians. We have general seating available in the rear section." I looked past her into the auditorium. The first 10 rows were marked with small brass plaques. Reserved family seating. I could see empty chairs. Several empty chairs. "I'm her grandfather. I should be with." "The reserved section is quite full, sir. But you'll have a wonderful view from the back." Before I could respond, my daughter appeared at my elbow. Jennifer, 42 years old, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost what I used to make in a month. Her hand touched my arm. Gentle, but firm. "Dad, it's fine. Come on. I'll show you where to sit." She guided me toward the rear, her heels clicking against the polished floor. I caught her glance back toward a group of people near the front, men in expensive suits, women in cocktail dresses, all holding wine glasses from the pre-ceremony reception I apparently wasn't invited to. "Jennifer, there are empty seats up front. It's assigned seating, Dad. Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene." The words sat heavy in my chest. I'd worked 43 years as a diesel mechanic, 43 years of crawling under trucks, of grease under my fingernails that never completely washed out, of coming home smelling like motor oil and sweat. I'd put Jennifer through college, state school, but still, 4 years I paid for. I'd helped with the down payment on her first house. And 3 years ago, when her husband David's real estate development company hit trouble, when they couldn't make the tuition payments for Emma's fancy private school, I'd written a check, $45,000. Prepaid tuition for 3 years at Cedar Hills Academy, where the annual cost was $15,000 and the waiting list stretched for years. I'd emptied half my retirement savings to keep my granddaughter in that school because Jennifer had begged me, because Emma loved it there, because family helps family. I sat in the back row. The ceremony started. I watched Emma walk across the stage to accept her Mathematics Achievement Award, her small figure in a white dress barely visible from where I sat. I clapped, but I doubt she heard me over the applause from the families up front. After the ceremony, there was a reception in the adjacent hall. Crystal chandeliers, white-clothed tables with elaborate flower arrangements, servers circulating with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. I found Jennifer standing with David and another couple I didn't recognize. The man wore a Rolex that caught the light. His wife had diamonds at her throat. "Jennifer," I said, approaching. She turned, and for just a moment, I saw something flash across her face. Discomfort, maybe embarrassment. "Dad, this is Marcus and Claire Pemberton. Their son goes to school with Emma." "Marcus, Claire, this is Robert. Not my father. Just Robert. Pleased to meet you," I said, extending my hand. Marcus shook it, his grip brief. "Are you with the school administration?" "No, I'm Jennifer's." "Robert does consulting work," Jennifer interrupted, her voice bright and tight. "He's semi-retired now." I stared at her. "Consulting work. What field?" Jennifer's hand was on my arm again, that same firm pressure. "Transportation logistics. It's quite technical." "Dad, I think Emma is looking for you. Why don't you go find her?" She steered me away before I could respond. When we were out of earshot, I stopped. "Transportation logistics? Dad, please." "I'm a diesel mechanic. I've been a diesel mechanic since I was 19 years old. These people don't need to know that." The words landed like a punch. "These people don't need to know that. What's wrong with being a mechanic?" "Nothing. Nothing is wrong with it. It's just, Dad, this is a different world. David's trying to rebuild his business. We need connections. We need people to see us a certain way. And what way is that?" Not as the daughter of a mechanic? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Jennifer? She glanced around, making sure no one was listening. Look, you don't understand the pressure we're under. This school, these families, they're our network. Emma's future depends on the connections she makes here. David's business depends on the relationships we build. We can't afford to seem ordinary. Ordinary. I'd been demoted from father to ordinary. I found Emma by the dessert table, her award certificate clutched in her hand. 12 years old, with her mother's dark hair and her grandfather's blue eyes. Grandpa! She hugged me, and for a moment, everything else fell away. Did you see? I got the highest score in my grade. I saw, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Mom said you paid for me to come to this school. Thank you. You're worth every penny. Jenny Patterson asked if you were Mom's dad. I said yes. She said her dad went to Yale, and he's a lawyer. What do you do, Grandpa? I looked at her honest face, waiting for an answer. I fix trucks. Big trucks. The ones that carry things across the country. That sounds cool. Do you get to drive them? Sometimes. Mostly. I make sure they don't break down. That's important. If trucks broke down, how would things get to stores? Exactly right. Jennifer appeared, her smile strained. Emma, go say goodbye to your teachers. We need to leave soon. Emma ran off. Jennifer turned to me. Did you tell her you're a mechanic? She asked what I do. Dad, I've been telling people you're in transportation consulting. Can you please just go along with that? I drove home that night in my 15-year-old Ford F-150, the truck I'd maintained myself. The one that ran better than most new vehicles because I knew every bolt and wire in it. I thought about Jennifer's face when she introduced me. The way she couldn't say the word father. The empty seats in the family section. I thought about $45,000. The next morning, I called my bank and asked to speak with Margaret Henderson, the financial advisor I'd worked with for 20 years. Robert, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? That education fund I set up for Emma. The one that's been paying her tuition automatically. I need to make some changes. Of course. What kind of changes? I want to set up a new account. A 529 education savings plan, in Emma's name only. I want to transfer the remaining balance from the current arrangement into that new account. And I want to stop the automatic payments to Cedar Hills Academy. There was a pause. That's a significant change. May I ask why? Let's just say I want to make sure the money is there for Emma when she really needs it. College, graduate school, whatever comes next. But I want control over how it's used. And the tuition payments for this year? Stop them. Effective immediately. Robert, they're going to get a notice that payment has failed. I know. I hung up and sat at my kitchen table, the same Formica table I'd eaten breakfast at for 30 years, the one Jennifer used to do her homework at when she was Emma's age. The house was quiet. It had been quiet since Martha died 5 years ago. Sometimes too quiet, but at least it was honest. The walls didn't pretend to be something they weren't. 6 weeks later, my phone rang. Jennifer, Dad, there's a problem. What kind of problem? The school called. They said the tuition payment for the new term bounced. They said the account has been closed. That's correct. Silence. Then, what do you mean? That's correct? I closed the account, Jennifer. I stopped the automatic payments. You. Why would you do that? Because I got tired of being your embarrassment. I got tired of being introduced as Robert to people who don't need to know I'm a mechanic. Dad, that's not. I paid $45,000 for Emma's education. I paid it because you asked me to. Because family helps family. But I'm not going to keep paying to be hidden in the back row of my own granddaughter's life. You're being ridiculous. I never said you were an embarrassment. You told your friends I do consulting work. You couldn't even say I'm your father. That's not fair. You don't understand the situation we're in. Then explain it to me. She did. It poured out the real estate market collapse that had nearly bankrupted David's company, the debts they were still carrying, the fact that they'd leveraged everything on the assumption that David would land a major development deal with one of the families at Cedar Hills. The BMW they were leasing to look successful. The country club membership they couldn't afford to drop. The house that was mortgaged to the ceiling. We're barely holding on, Dad. If people knew how bad things were, David would never get the contracts he needs. We have to maintain appearances. At what cost? At whatever cost it takes. This is about Emma's future. This is about our family's future. And what about me? Am I part of this family? Of course you are. Then why am I not on the list? She didn't answer. I've redirected the money into an account for Emma. It'll be there for her college, her graduate school, whatever she needs. But I'm not funding appearances anymore. I'm not paying for you to be ashamed of me. Dad. Wait. I hung up. The next 3 months were hard. Jennifer didn't call. I didn't call her. I heard through my brother that they'd had to pull Emma from Cedar Hills mid-year, that she'd enrolled in the public middle school in their district. I heard that David had lost the development deal. I heard they'd returned the BMW and bought a used Honda. I wanted to call. I wanted to fix it. That's what fathers do, we fix things. But some things need to stay broken for a while before they can be properly repaired. It was Emma who broke the silence. She showed up at my house on a Saturday afternoon in November. Jennifer sat in the car in my driveway, not coming to the door. Grandpa? Emma. Come in, sweetheart. She sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where her mother used to sit. She looked older somehow, even though it had only been 3 months. Why did you stop paying for my school? I'd known this question was coming. I'd practiced answers. But sitting across from her, seeing Martha's gentleness in her face, all my practiced words disappeared. Because sometimes, the price of something isn't just money. Sometimes, we pay with pieces of ourselves, and I'd paid too much. I don't understand. Your mom was embarrassed of me, of what I do, and I got tired of apologizing for working an honest job. She told me you're a mechanic. She told me you fix big trucks. Did that bother you? No. I think it's cool. My new school had career day, and everyone's parents came. There were doctors and lawyers, and one kid's mom is a dentist, but nobody had a grandpa who keeps trucks running. I told my teacher about you. She said trucks are the backbone of America's economy. She's right. I miss Cedar Hills. I had friends there, but I like my new school too. The kids are different. She searched for words. They're more normal. Like me. You were always normal, Emma. Not at Cedar Hills. There, I was always pretending. Pretending we had more money than we did. Pretending my dad's business was doing great. Mom said I couldn't invite friends over because our house wasn't nice enough. I felt something crack in my chest. Your house is beautiful. It's not as big as theirs. It doesn't have a pool or a movie theater or a tennis court. Those things don't make a home. That's what I said. But Mom got upset. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma pulled a folded paper from her backpack. We had to write an essay for English class. About someone we admire. I wrote about you. My teacher said it was really good. Do you want to read it? She handed me the paper. The title was, My Grandpa, the Backbone of America. I read it. She'd written about how I'd worked since I was 19, how I'd put her mom through college, how I'd paid for her school, even though I didn't have much money. She'd written about visiting my garage when she was little, how I'd shown her how to change oil, how I'd explained that every job worth doing is worth doing well. She'd written that I was the hardest working person she knew, and that she wanted to be like me when she grew up. I couldn't finish reading. My eyes were too blurry. Grandpa? Are you okay? I'm more than okay, sweetheart. This is the best thing anyone's ever written about me. Really? Really. Mom cried when she read it. I looked up at that. She did? Yeah. Then she said we needed to come see you. I walked Emma back to the car. Jennifer rolled down the window. Her eyes were red. Dad, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I got so caught up in trying to fix our lives, trying to keep up appearances, that I forgot what actually matters. Emma wrote that essay, and I realized I was teaching her to be ashamed of the best man I know. I'm not perfect, Jennifer, but you're real. You're honest. You've worked your whole life with your hands, and there's honor in that. There's dignity in that. I forgot. I'm so sorry I forgot. Come inside. Both of you. We sat at that kitchen table, and we talked. Really talked. Jennifer told me about the financial pressure, about the fear that had been driving her decisions. I told her about feeling erased, about the pain of being hidden. Emma sat between us, and I think she understood more than we realized. The money I set aside is still there for Emma, I said. For college, for whatever she needs. But I'm not funding pretense. I'm not funding shame. I don't want you to. I don't want any of that anymore. It nearly cost me you. It nearly cost Emma the chance to know her grandfather. So what now? Jennifer took a breath. David's scaling back his business, taking on smaller projects. We're selling the house, moving into something we can actually afford. We're done pretending to be something we're not. And Emma, she's thriving at her new school. She's made real friends. She joined the robotics club. Did you know she's good at engineering? I looked at Emma. Is that right? She nodded, suddenly shy. I like building things, taking them apart and putting them back together. Like her grandpa, Jennifer said softly. Over the next few months, things changed. Slowly, but they changed. Jennifer and David sold their house and bought a smaller one. A real home, not a showcase. David took a steady job with a construction firm while he rebuilt his business the right way, with projects he could actually deliver. Jennifer stopped worrying about what people thought, and Emma came to visit me every other Saturday. I taught her about engines, about how machines work. I showed her how to change her own oil, how to check tire pressure, how to read the story an engine tells when something's wrong. She was a natural, her hands quick and sure, her mind sharp with questions. One Saturday in spring, she was helping me replace the alternator in my truck when she asked, "Grandpa, do you think I could be a mechanic?" You could be anything you want, Emma. But if you wanted to be a mechanic, you'd be a damn fine one. Mom says I should think about engineering school. She says I could design engines instead of just fixing them. What do you want? She was quiet for a moment, her hands still on the wrench. I think I want to understand how everything works, from the design all the way to the repair. Is that weird? That's the smartest thing I've heard in years. That evening, Jennifer came to pick Emma up. She stood in my garage, looking around at the tools I'd collected over 4 decades, at the workbench I'd built myself, at the parts organized in careful rows. I used to play out here when I was little, she said. Do you remember? I remember. You'd let me hand you tools. You taught me all their names. Socket wrench, torque wrench, Allen key. You had a good memory. I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten a lot of things. She turned to me. Thank you, Dad. For what? For not letting me forget forever. For caring enough to stop me before I taught Emma that shame was more important than truth. You're my daughter. That's what fathers do. She hugged me then, and I smelled her shampoo, the same brand she'd used since high school. For a moment, she was 10 years old again, standing in this same garage, asking me to explain how a carburetor worked. I love you, Dad. I love you too, kiddo. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and Emma's essay. I'd read it a dozen times, but I read it again. She'd ended it with a line that stuck with me. My grandpa taught me that there's no shame in honest work, only in dishonest living. 12 years old, and she'd figured out what it took her mother 42 years to understand. I thought about that ceremony at Cedar Hills, about sitting in the back row, about being introduced as Robert instead of Dad. I thought about the empty seats in the family section that I wasn't allowed to fill. It had hurt. It had hurt more than I'd wanted to admit. But that hurt had led to this, to Emma in my garage, learning to read an engine the way some kids read books. To Jennifer remembering who she was, who we were, to honest conversations at a Formica table, instead of pretense in a marble hall. The fluorescent lights were too bright at that academy. But here, in my small house with its worn furniture and honest walls, the light was just right. Here, I didn't have to be transportation, logistics, or consulting, or any other polished lie. Here, I could be what I'd always been, a diesel mechanic, a father, a grandfather, and that was enough. That had always been enough. I just had to help my daughter remember. Outside, A truck passed on the highway, its engine running smooth and strong. Somewhere, a mechanic had done their job well. Somewhere, someone was getting home because their vehicle didn't break down, because someone who knew what they were doing had made sure every part was working right. There's honor in that. There's dignity in keeping the world moving, one engine at a time. Emma understood that now, and Jennifer was learning. As for me, I'd learned something too, that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the refusal to participate in their self-deception. That love sometimes means drawing a line and saying, "This far, no further." I'd paid $45,000 for Emma's education, but the real lesson, the one about honest work and real worth, that lesson I'd taught for free. And it was worth every single moment.